Okay, continuing our deep dive, I want to pause on the code real quick and the functions, and I want to talk about state, this variable right here. Okay, whenever you define a table, you put in all your fields. ClassBuilder adds state. Now, what is state, you may say? State is where ClassBuilder keeps track of the status of the record. And state has specific values, and they're defined in DB, up here in the DB module, DB PBI. There's an enumerator right here that is used. When a record is brand new, it has the value state is new. Now we also have a new dirty, which means it's a new record. You haven't saved it to the database yet, but you've changed it. And we'll get to new and new dirty, especially the new dirty on the next set of videos when we're going into child tables, parent-child table structures. So a child is added to a parent, and until the parent gets saved, the child's still in a new status, okay? There's where the new dirty kicks in, okay? So we have to separate those that you've created brand new and those that you've modified that are still new. Okay, clean. When you retrieve data from the database on the finds, it automatically sets state to clean. Clean means it's unchanged. It's not new. It's not dirty. It's just the way it is on the database. That's clean. When you change data, it becomes dirty. Now, we'll get to, well, I guess now is as good a time as any. So, dirty is whenever a record is saved. That is code that you will have to manage because there's not really a good way for ClassBuilder to know who's dirty, when, and where, and also the ramifications on the tree structure. So if you have 3 or 4 tiers to your parent-child relationship and somebody changes a child record, well, that means the parent is dirty, but he's also a child. So that means his parent is now dirty. And following that up the ricochet tables is something I leave to you. It just the way it is. So the last of the fields is delete rec. And normally that I tried to use just delete, but delete's already taken by Pure Basic, so I can't use it. So I came up with delete rec. So a collection record, this is back to the parent-child, you can have a record flagged as delete record, and then you hit cancel. So the record never gets deleted, okay? So it stays clean in the database. But we'll dig into all of those nuances in the next section. But I wanted to real briefly come back here and point out state. It's not a field we set up on our table, but it's there no matter what. And when we come down here, let's look quickly at the find. We set state to be clean. Both finds will do that. We have state is clean. When you save data, he comes in and says, okay, if the database state, if the record state is new, we insert. If otherwise, we're going to update, okay? Deletes are handled separately and done differently. So once you have updated the record, the state goes back to clean. So once you have inserted the record, a find is done, and we flip the database class back state to clean. It's no longer new, it's clean, it's got an ID. we also go look up the ID and put it in the table. So with that's a quick overview of the states. Let's go ahead and finish this off with a good hard look at save. Saving a record is as simple as just passing the reference to the object into the save function. And first thing he does is call validate. And if validate, we pass our object along to the validate step, comes back as false. That means validate has already displayed the error message to the user and they've hit OK. We come back to here, then save returns false. And if you remember back to the previous video on the form code does a save and says, if save is true, then go ahead and update the stuff and close the form. If it's false, it drops out of all of that, goes back to the control loop and just sits there spinning. So you don't leave the screen until it's actually saved or they hit cancel. So if the class state is new, then it builds the insert logic and fills all of this in. Oh, I guess we need to jump up here first. So we open the database and we start a with sentence that says, okay, with this class, we're going to put all our fields in that we're going to update. These are the fields we're going to update. And on a new record, we're creating these fields. And when we create these fields, we've defined our ID as an auto increment on the database. So we send the update in, we pass the query in, it comes back as successfully run, and then we can say, okay, our record is clean, and then we go get the database key that was just inserted and put it into our class. So now our class record is clean, and it has an ID. If we're doing an update, and I want to point this out, this is where that if begins, is here, okay? And so these are all valid fields. So we have to keep the order here very exact. So we're going to add yet another variable to this list of passing in variables. So name here is name here. He is the 0 ID of passed in variables and values. So this is a string. And you do it this way because a string can have a single quote inside it. Take the name O block, O apostrophe block. Now, if you actually did your SQL out like you see it on many of the websites out there, where you say name equals O block, and you got a single quote in the middle of it, SQL's going to freak out because that's a command thing for SQL. That's a reserved character. So you pass in strings by setting the database string ID 0, which is 1, then comes short description, then comes type and size. So down here you got name, short description, type, size, and we add the where ID number 4 is the ID for update. So this way it's all shared, one simple set of code. Then we do the update, and then if that's successful, we then come down here and say it's clean. And then we close the database. You always have to close the database. You only got one database connection, and it needs to stay closed at all times. So that completes save.